stories across the globe to stories here at home. This is the National News Broadcast. A very good evening to you. I'm Sharifa Tahir.
Good evening, I'm Clifford Richards. First of all, we take a look at the headlines.
Around 65,000 persons have been adversely affected by the inclement weather. The Premier pledges to implement the law to the letter. Preparations underway to celebrate Christmas. The New Zealand police say 56,000 firearms have been handed over during the common amnesty period. Oshado Fernando hits his maiden century against Pakistan.
Moving on to the stories in detail, and topping the news is weather. Around 65,000 persons have been adversely affected by the inclement weather. Meanwhile, the Met Department forecasts the prevailing showery condition to enhance to an extent today and tomorrow as well. Around 19,000 families have been adversely affected due to the inclement weather, and around 18,000 persons are temporarily housed at 132 shelters. 2 deaths have been reported. 1,463 houses have been partially damaged, while 62 have been damaged fully. 70 persons adversely affected by the disaster situation in the Batticaloa and Puttalam districts were rescued by the police and tri forces yesterday. Spill gates of the Kaudula Reservoir are currently being opened after a lapse of 5 years. The engineers overseeing the tank says 2 spill gates have been opened, releasing a water capacity of 300 cubic feet per second. The Katharagama sacred site has been inundated due to the rivers overflowing after heavy rains. 17 trade stalls have been damaged. Former Chief Minister of the Uva province, Shashinda Rajapaksa, joined in an observation visit yesterday. A number of areas were inundated after the Anamadua Galkisa Dam overflowed. A person affected by floods were rescued by the Navy. 11 individuals were evacuated after an earth slip that occurred in Hanguranketa. A group of persons affected by floods in the Galnav area in the Anuradhapura district were rescued by the Navy last night, as both spill gates of the Kala River have been opened by 18 feet each. A water capacity of 33,000 cubic feet is being released per second through the Kala Oya. All spill gates of the Nachudu Reservoir in Anuradhapura have been opened further. The surplus water is now flowing to the Malwatu. Therefore, the Department of Irrigation advises residents in the area to be vigilant. 10 spill gates of the Parakrama Samudra have currently been opened, releasing a water capacity of 1,900 cubic feet per second. The Colombo-Batticaloa main road was inundated after the spill gates were opened, resulting in the obstructions to vehicular traffic. The historic Somavati sacred site was inundated as the Mahavali River breached its banks after heavy rains. It is reported that the area is inundated to a depth of 10 feet of water. Our correspondent reports elephants in the wild who have become stranded due to the flood situation were seen close to the sacred site. A number of roads and villages were inundated after the Kala well overflowed. As a result of prevailing rains, 22 of the 32 spill gates of the Rajangana Reservoir have been currently opened. 2 spill gates of the Thambuttegama Angamu Reservoir have been opened as well. The access road to the Dunghinda waterfall, which was closed over the past 2 days due to unsafe conditions, was opened this morning after an inspection conducted by the National Building Research Organisation. Last night, State Minister Roshan Ranasinghe visited persons at temporary shelters at displacement camps in the Manampiti area due to the floods. The minister distributed dry rations amongst the affected persons. The Air Force rescued 26 persons who were stranded due to the floods in the Karadiyanaru North area in Batticaloa. The Air Force media spokesman says a Bell 12-2 helicopter was deployed for the rescue mission. 4 night mail express trains have been cancelled due to heavy rains. These include services between Colombo and Batticaloa and Colombo and Trincomalee. In addition, the intercity express train that was to commute to Poronnaruwa this evening was also cancelled. Meanwhile, train services along the upcountry line will operate only up to Alla. The Met Department forecasts heavy rainfall of around 150 to 200 millimeters of rain in the Anuradhapura, Polonnaru, Trincomalee and Vavuniya districts tomorrow. Heavy rainfall of around 100 to 150 millimeters of rain can be expected in the western Sabaragaon and Uva provinces and also in the Batticaloa, Ampara, Nuwara, Matale and Puttalam and Mannar districts. The Disaster Management Centre states Passara Lunugala Road has been totally closed to vehicular traffic until further notice due to an earth slip which occurred in the Hopton Tea Estate near the Milla Oya along the Passara Lunugala Road. After a lapse of 4 years, 6 spill gates of the Kantale Reservoir have been opened by 9 inches each, releasing 800 cubic feet of water per second. Therefore, those residing in low-lying areas are advised to be vigilant.
High public praise has been received for the decisions taken by President Gotabaya Rajapaksa within the month in which he ascended to the presidency. These decisions were taken upon the manifesto of a prosperous vision. These include a special task force that was established on education and steps that were taken to implement educational reforms systematically and with transparency. The upgrading of 1,000 schools to the level of national schools and the creation of 1 trilingual school per district. The introduction of 1,000 certificate-level diploma opportunities in the information technology field targeting the job market. The preparation of drafts to control the importation of products such as kites and lanterns. The establishment of a National Policies and Strategies Bureau to make efficient the sections of state investments, national development plans and analyzing and managing procurement projects. The relocation of the Ministry of Agriculture at the Govijana Mandira. The ministry was previously housed in a private building which involved a monthly rent payment of 21 million rupees. Steps taken to regulate over 1,000 non-governmental organizations operating against the country. Commencing royalty payments with effect from the 1st of January for vocalists when their musical works are aired over the media. Efficiently taking forward the work plan of the new government without criticizing previous governments. The revision of salaries of heads of government institutions and the reduction of the salary paid for the chairman of Telecom from 2 million to 250,000. Instructions given to conduct the procurement process in state institutions with transparency. Instructions for state institutions to curtail all unnecessary ceremonies. The selection of suitable individuals in recruitment processes that cover all districts equally. Empowering the Policy Special Task Force or Police Special Task Force to conduct raids on the underworld and on drug trafficking. Paving the way for other importers to import wheat flour in order to end the wheat flour monopoly. Inviting powerful countries to place their trust in Sri Lanka and invest alongside India and China whilst respecting the Sri Lankan identity. The issuance of a Gazette Extraordinary and trust in the special responsibility of the security of all 9 provinces with the army. The instant plan initiated to focus the attention of the police and other groups on the environment. The restricting of cabinet of ministers of the interim government to 16 ministerial portfolios and the pledge given to restrict the cabinet in the proposed government. The directive issued to display the state emblem at state institutions instead of portraying the photographs of the president and the subject minister. For roadways developed with the utilization of public funds, a directive was given instead of displaying cutouts of politicians to display the state emblem and only the name of the road. The obtaining of recommendations from a selections board when appointing heads of government institutions. The reduction of taxes on telephone charges by 25%. The reduction of the VAT from 15% to 8%. The prohibition imposed on the importation of small export crops including pepper and cinnamon.
Prime Minister Mahinda Rajapaksa says currently the law is being enforced on everyone equally. The Premier says unlike during the previous regime, the law is not being enforced on anyone with the intention of gaining political revenge. The Premier expressed these views at joining in a gathering of the social media activist collective of the Sri Lanka Podujana Peramuna held in Wadua. The contribution of the social media activists over the past 5 years was highly praised.
කවුරු පොලිසියට අරන් ගියත්
The Premier said these days when anyone is taken into the police custody, it is they who are held at fault. He said no one inquires into why the police arrested this individual. The Premier noted Gamini Senarath was acquitted, the Minister Johnston Fernando was acquitted. He pointed out that these are political court cases and further stated causing injuries or running over a person in a vehicle accident or by stabbing a person to death is not a political reason. The Premier said today the law is being implemented to the letter.
The order summoning members of the Tri-Forces for the deployment in all districts to maintain public order has been extended. The Gazette Extraordinary in this regard has been issued. The Gazette has been issued bearing the signature of President Gotabaya Rajapaksa with effect from today. After the state of emergency, which was imposed after the Easter Sunday attacks was lifted, under the provisions of the Public Security Ordinance, the President has taken this measure. Thereby, the Army, Navy and Air Force have been summoned in order to maintain public order constantly. Through the Gazette Ordinary Extraordinary, the President has taken steps to summon members of the Tri-Forces covering all 25 administrative districts.
Moving on with more news, here are the views voiced by a number of politicians regarding the present political climate. UNP parliamentarian Professor Ashu Marasinghe says they intend to organize a number of programs on behalf of MP Patili Champika Ranawaka in the coming days. He noted both Bodhi Pujas and various meritorious acts are underway at many viharas these days on behalf of MP Ranawaka. Professor Marasinghe added, in the coming days they hope to go forth among the people to conduct a dialogue on this frightening premonition. Meanwhile, UPFA parliamentarian Priyal Nishantha said it has been clearly proved that former Minister Patili Champika Ranawaka had run over the youth in question and fled without admitting the victim to the hospital. The UPFA MP further states two of the victim's friends have given clear evidence that the vehicle was driven by the former minister. He alleges thereby the CCTV footage was deleted.
The Ministry of Finance, Economic and Policy Development vehemently rejects Fitch Ratings' outlook on Sri Lanka, which was amended from stable to negative. The ministry states it is inappropriate for Fitch Ratings to make such a prediction with haste. The President is due to announce the direction of the new government's economic policies and its economic vision in the policy statement which the President is to put forward on the 3rd of January. The Ministry of Finance states it is unsuitable for Fitch Ratings and other rating institutions to make predictions before the policy statements is read. The Ministry is of the opinion that the rating institution in question has not issued the prediction based on positive points but in haste. The Finance Ministry elaborates that the government is maintaining macroeconomic elements conducively and that the objective is to direct the economy towards a high economic growth level. Thereby, the tax concessions granted to encourage the private sector is the beginning of this process. By aggregating revenue, steps have been taken to strengthen the state financial sector on the medium and long term. The Colombo Mixed Development Project, which involves $250 million, was approved by the Cabinet, and this project is a decisive factor in this regard as it will attract foreign direct investments to the country. The Ministry of Finance in its statement says the economic policies of the government will be instrumental in attaining an economic growth rate of between 4 to 4.5% next year.
The Prince of Wales has denounced the Easter suicide bombings in Sri Lanka as an utterly barbaric act as he attended the Christian church service in London. He told the congregation that the terrorist atrocities, which claimed the lives of more than 250 people in April, were an assault on religious freedom everywhere. Among the worshippers in the East London church were those who lost family and friends in the attacks. And the Prince said seeing people from different backgrounds grieving together gave him confidence that compassion and community will always prevail. Charles had travelled to a Christian church established in the Manor Park to express his solidarity with the worshippers during an Advent service. The Prince said that the appalling loss of life made Sunday 21st of April a single worst day of violence targeting Christians in the modern era. Well, our correspondents report that a racket at the Sathosa stores in Veeravilla in Tissamharama, in which rice stocks which are intended to be sold to the consumers are being smuggled to the traders. It is reported that when our correspondents visited the location, stocks of rice being transported out of the premises in private lorries was observed. Private rice mill owners have been granted permission to process the paddy stocks at storages belonging to the government and release the stocks to the market as rice. The processed stocks of paddy need to be delivered to Sathosa as they were sold to the consumers at a concessionary price of 84 rupees per kilo. However, it has been revealed that the Tissamharama Cooperative Society purchases the rice stocks and sells them to rice traders in the area at 88 rupees. The private vendors in turn sell the rice stocks at a price between 99 and 110 rupees. Once this was brought to the notice, the Consumer Affairs Authority conducted an inquiry into the affair this morning.
14 individuals on pilgrimage to Sripada were arrested while in possession of drugs. The arrest was made by the Hatton police. Heroin, ice and Kerala cannabis was found on the arrestees. The arrestees are reportedly between the ages of 20 and 30 and are residents of Colombo, Gampha, Gaul, Alpitia and Avisavala who have joined in the Sripada pilgrimages. They are due to be produced before the Hatton Magistrates Courts. The Corruption Prevention Unit of the Hatton Police Division has launched a special operation to nab individuals who bring narcotics along with them on the pilgrimage. The contribution of the Police Canals Division is also being obtained in this operation.
A national workshop to empower Sri Lankan women in digital technology was held at the Trace City in Colombo over the weekend. At the workshop, the basic principles and plans on uplifting their quality of life were formulated. The workshop was organized by the Sri Lanka Information and Communication Technology Agency. Well, this compilation of an action plan to uplift the living standards of women of Sri Lanka by 2025, specifically focusing on digital technology, took place at the workshop. Views and opinions were obtained under 5 categories. One of the objectives was to provide the relevant training for women involved in small and medium-scale entrepreneurships on the productive use of social media in order to access the local and foreign markets. The necessity on making the national economy more efficient was identified, and thereby a number of proposals were put forward in that respect. The Sri Lanka Information and Communication Technology Agency intends to launch an action plan in the future, taking the expressed views and proposals into consideration.
We are left with just a few more days for the dawn of Christmas. These days, Christians are making preparations for the Christmas day. Communities are preparing for Christmas with a new sense of hope and are also preparing for the New Year. The public have been provided with the opportunity of purchasing many items, including clothing at reduced prices and under various discounts. Meanwhile, the police advise shoppers to be cautious of their purse, handbag and valuables while shopping. The city of Colombo is also preparing for the dawn of Christmas. This is how the city has been illuminated during the night time in preparation for Christmas.
Well, that's in Sri Lanka, and how about the rest of the world? Well, we have a World Christmas Roundup, and firstly, Pope Francis has told a Roman Curia not to fear the timely transformations taking place in the Vatican structures. Pope Francis made these remarks during his annual Christmas greeting to the bishops and cardinals of the Roman Curia. Now let's take a look at how other countries around the world are preparing for the upcoming festive season. The ceremony was held in the Vatican City yesterday. Bishops and cardinals of the Roman Curia were present on this occasion. The Pope's speech to the Roman Curia is one of the most important addresses of the year, as he typically uses the occasion to offer his thinking and vision for governance and the ongoing reform of the Curia. Notre Dame Cathedral in Paris will not hold a Christmas Mass for the first time in more than 200 years, as repair work continues following April's fire. The 850-year-old Gothic cathedral, a UNESCO World Heritage Site, lost its spire and roof during the blaze. The US-Canadian military officials in charge of tracking Santa Claus trips are putting the final touches to their control room to make sure children everywhere receive their presents on time, which is a tradition tracing back to 1955. 4 generations of royals, the Queen and the next 3 heirs to the throne, Prince Charles, William and George, are photographed in the palace's music room while making Christmas puddings for charity. 4 NASA astronauts shared a Christmas greeting from the International Space Station yesterday. They showed off some of the special treats they will get to enjoy over the holidays. British Prime Minister Boris Johnson swapped political action for an apron to serve up some pre-Christmas meals for British troops in Estonia yesterday. A Christmas tree over 28 meters high rose over the Lebanese city of Chekha this week, made entirely of plastic bottles. Caroline Subtini used 120,000 plastic bottles to build the tree, hoping to send a message on the importance of recycling. A riverside of the Chhaopaka in Bangkok was lit up with the spirit of Christmas in the air. Christmas tree prices have elevated this season as the supply is dwindling and it becomes more difficult to find real trees.
In the meantime, Sri Lankan Airlines launched a gift-to-gift Secret Santa campaign this Christmas, where guests on one flight sent wishes to guests on another flight with season's greetings and Christmas wishes. Corporate office staff across departments of the airline also sent messages of cheer.
Few nights before Christmas, a campaign was launched. A gift-to-gift Secret Santa for a surprise on board. Our elves are busy for Santa, getting season's wishes from plane to plane. Who never thought that they will find a surprise gift waiting for them at the gate?
I think it's great, it's Christmas time. It's a lovely time of year to do it. I think it's a good way to give back to people and have an opportunity to be able to feel like you've given something to someone and you can give your wish to whoever you want, and it's nice that it's anonymous, and yeah, it's good. Although, what do you think?
I think it's nice to it kind of brings that connection. So you might have flights going to different places all over the world, but it kind of brings that connection between different passengers and different people across the world.
The gifts were from Sri Lanka and wishes from all staff to fill a plane with memories to give the season a great start. Wishes were transferred by our elves who were on ground as they boarded the flight at midnight and placed their merry bags of goodness and delight.
How do you feel receiving this gift? Yeah, it was so nice to have a present when he came on board. So it was a great experience during the Christmas time because it's a time of sharing.
So the Melbourne-bound knew that their wishes were safely on its way, yet to another flight to surprise travelers that same way. The outbound flight soon boarded to find red bags of cheer, carrying special season's wishes from fellow travelers a few hours before. The gift-to-gift Secret Santa concluded with much happiness and cheer, as all of us at Sri Lanka look forward to seeing you in the new year.
Well, that's a lot of cricket, and it's time to end the news. Do enjoy the rest of the programs. Take care and good night.
Good night.